Hey everyone, welcome back from the holidays. It's another episode of Two Noobs Talking with my friend John Tracy. I'm Matt Craig. John, how was your Christmas and New Year's, man? And how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm amazing. Christmas was awesome. Got everything I wanted. Santa came and hung out for a little bit.
Nice,
New
nice.
Year's was cool. Actually, I edited that video, so that's all that New Year's was. I didn't even know it was way.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, same with me. Loving the yellow bean slippers, I gotta say. Yellow bean, big time shout out. They're not a sponsor. I hope we do get them down the road, don't get me wrong. That would be awesome.
Slippers, LL Bean sponsor.
Just saying, they're really nice and comfy. But yeah, I had a great New Year's Eve with the sister and brother-in-law. We had a great
Awesome.
opportunity to come together and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah,
Good stuff.
got a lot of good things. Yeah. But yeah, just welcome everybody back. Really excited. 2021, brand new year. And Two Noobs Talking is back as well, talking some really good news articles. And we've got a lot going on. John, why don't we just jump right into screenshot number one?
Awesome.
And let's talk some vitamin D. This has really been kind of in the news. We've talked about this on previous podcasts, but here's an article that we found written by Evgeny Gromov. Basically, it's in an open letter that was written back on December 21st of last year. Over 120 health science, and medical experts from the UK, US, and Europe says there's now clear scientific evidence that vitamin D reduces COVID-19 infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. And as you can see on our screens here, but for our audio listeners, scientists are now calling for the immediate widespread increased vitamin D intake to 4,000 international units per day for healthy adults. And this comes just one day after the British government health bodies denied that there was enough existence to support increased vitamin D intake to COVID. So they're saying, that these scientists are now saying, hey, vitamin D is really, really important. John, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, this is obviously some really, really good news.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually what I wanted to add to it is I understand the vitamin D. My wife takes a vitamin D supplement and has done wonders for her and her immune system.
Mhm.
I actually have a different understanding of it because I used to work in a building every day,
Mhm.
and my immune system wasn't really good. I would get sick a lot, but I
Mhm.
took a job a couple years ago where I spend all my time outdoors.
Mm.
And it's really funny how different I had to make changes, and my immune system was stronger because I was outside all the time and I didn't take the same supplements. So it was like
Mm.
this crazy time where you had to like learn like, oh well, I don't need all this because I'm getting all this from
Yeah.
D3 and the sun and all that. Like, so I don't need these anymore. I need
Yeah.
these. And it was kind of like it's funny how much vitamin D changes your immune system for the
Oh yeah.
better.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, it was really funny. It's like in the early days of the pandemic, you don't know really much what's going on, of course, and everything. And they're trying to understand what the virus is trying to do. But no one was really talking about vitamin D at all. Everybody was more concentrating on hydroxy, if I can say it,
Very
hydroxychloroquine.
important. Yes.
And they were like taking it out of the fish tank. That's not exactly what you would want to do for your immune system. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
But it wasn't until, I guess it
They
was,
were talking about D3, but Beaker doesn't allow speak like that.
well, that this is kind of bite him in the butt, unfortunately, for him. But
Of course.
normal people now, I mean, it really changed, I think, for me, probably in the summer months. Even though I was walking, getting exercise every day outside, the majority of my life has been spent obviously indoors, working here at home. And so I don't get out all that much. So, okay, what about a vitamin D intake? Well, I've shared on this podcast before. It's a small, tiny little supplement you take with water. It's the first thing you take in the morning, and it just goes down really quickly. I think the bottle I picked up was 5,600 international units. The
Mhm.
article we just showed was like 4,000. So I'm really, I guess, really boosting my immune system. But I mean, it's huge. It's a big, I can't even begin to tell you the improvements that I've seen in my own life, my own body, it's like I feel like I've been stronger because of this. It's like COVID hasn't even had a prayer. Still work out every day, of course, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely massive. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm
it's
glad you've
funny.
been able to get outside, John. I mean, every day with your job, you don't necessarily need to take D3. You're
No, no, no,
walking
no.
in D3 every day.
Yeah, exactly. That's my entire day. I spend 8 to 10 hours outside, not including what I do when I come home.
Yeah.
Sometimes actually I don't want to go outside because I've been outside for so long.
Yeah.
Which is, it is what it is. But no, I've noticed a huge difference in my health over the last couple of years
Mm-hmm.
because I'm getting that natural
Yeah.
supplement.
From
Basically,
the
yeah, I'm getting
sun.
it from
Yeah.
the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing that makes me angry about the lockdowns and the stay at home.
Yeah.
Because, like, going for a walk can help you beat the virus, and they're telling you to stay inside to beat the virus. It seems a
And
little
mask up and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, that has been so confusing. Obviously, it's like, we're seeing more benefits of this. And I think it probably would be helpful, for both our viewing audience and also for our audience. Why don't we pull up video one here? Because
Oh,
a lot of people were kind of like figuring out, okay, well, how does vitamin D3 really work in the body? We found this video online. It's on YouTube by Dr. Roger Shield, who basically has been doing kind of, I guess you could say, weekly or bi-weekly videos on the entire coronavirus pandemic. He's got this video here talking about vitamin D3 benefits. So let's go ahead and play it.
Advocated for vitamin D as a potential way to prevent COVID-19 infections, to prevent severe COVID-19 infections. You've talked about this for a few months now. And over the past several months, the evidence continues to grow. There's more and more publications in peer-reviewed medical journals about the possible connection between vitamin D and COVID-19. So you put together a presentation for us. Tell us about what your presentation is all about.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So we've been talking about vitamin D as a potential therapeutic agent for COVID-19 since March. And since that time, a lot of other people have become involved in looking at that agent as well. A number of research studies have been done. And the purpose of this is to sort of look at the evolution and the thinking of the use of vitamin D in COVID-19. So what we do is we look back even before COVID-19. And what was the evidence for vitamin D in acute chest infections, for instance, influenza, and what was the data there? And then we look at the epidemiological evidence for vitamin D as a therapeutic agent in COVID-19. And then finally moving along to actual cases, hospitalizations. And then we build up with that hierarchy of evidence with vitamin D and COVID-19 to randomize placebo-controlled trials, which of course are the gold standard for therapeutics.
Okay, so let's talk about vitamin D. The first thing you've got to understand is that vitamin D is not just a vitamin. Vitamin D is actually a hormone. And if you notice here by the structure, you'll see that it is a steroid hormone, which means it can go into the nucleus. It can go through membranes and make effective changes. And specifically, the vitamin D receptor is a member of this nuclear receptor steroid hormone superfamily. And so as you can see here, we have vitamin D going through the membrane and affecting a binding to the receptor, and then it actually goes into the nucleus where it can affect transcriptional change. This is really
good. I think that's a terrific presentation. We'll link to this in our show notes.
Absolutely.
But it's huge. It's a gigantic, it creates a protein. Essentially what it does is it takes, as the body absorbs it, it takes those individual proteins, carries them into the membrane and into the nucleus, and then transcribes proteins to make your body stronger and make your immune system stronger.
I'm not a scientist, but I do know from what I've been listening to with certain other podcasts and talking about the COVID-19, that's what they're talking about the vaccines are doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're creating the antibody protein. I don't want to, don't quote me because I'm probably completely wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but it's creating a protein in the body that is causing a response. Literally what that guy was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I'm right. I'm asking you more than.
No,
So
yeah,
I think that my understanding of it is close,
I
right?
think you're exactly right, John. Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, because it's generating again. You think about that. Part of that presentation was he's talking about the proteins that are being made as a result of the receptors going into the nucleus. So the nucleus is taking that information and then spitting out a protein as if it is like protecting its own self. Each cell is doing this in your body. So it's
So
massive.
you explaining it that way, that exactly way the vaccines were explained to me
Yeah.
recently. Okay, so
Yeah. The only difference I think
let's just leave that there.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah. The only difference I think probably with the mRNA, it's a little bit more in terms of the ribonuclear, the acid or whatever. And that's probably provoking more of an immune response. But the vitamin D3, I think is so important to take just from the fact that it does help the immune system down the road. We've both talked about that. So yeah.
I would agree
Yeah,
with what
sure.
you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, this kind of leads us a little bit more into the COVID talk and everything. And there's been a lot of talk about asymptomatic people carrying the virus. That seems to be the big things. John, let's go ahead and throw up screenshot 2 if you would. This article was very interesting finding. In and of itself.
I apologize.
That's all right.
Look at me being a rookie at this.
You're a noob at this, John.
Let's go. All right. Got you.
Asymptomatic transmission of COVID-19 didn't occur at all. Study of 10 million finds. Well, isn't that interesting? Only 3 asymptomatic cases in the study of nearly 10 million were discovered. None of the asymptomatic cases tested positive for COVID. That was what the growing narrative seems to be, right, John? It's like, oh my gosh, we don't want anybody that's asymptomatic of COVID to be able to go around, spread around. So therefore, we're going to lock everything down.
Yep.
Well, this seems to indicate that that's not the case.
Let's dig a little bit deeper into this.
Yeah, go ahead. So we're looking at basically 10 million people in Wuhan, China, the origin of where the virus started from. They found that basically an asymptomatic spread of COVID didn't occur there at all. And then basically in the scientific journal Nature Communications, there's a link, of course, for the paper was compiled by 19 scientists, mainly from the Huzhou University of Science and Technology in Wuhan.
That will also be linked in the show notes for everybody. Yep. So as deep as you want to dig, we'll be here to help you.
Absolutely. And we're talking over 9.8 million, close to approximately 10 million people took part in a screening program from middle of May to June of last year. Clear results as to the possibility of asymptomatic transmission of the virus. And of course, it goes on, the article talks about, oh my gosh, well, it's the main reason why the lockdowns are happening. Well, the asymptomatic transmission, out of 10 million people, they found only 300 were asymptomatic and none of them tested positive. So again, it kind of makes you stop to think, what's going on with these lockdowns, John, right? It's kind of just like,
just real quick shout out to de Blasio, the New York mayor, dancing in the streets for New Year's while everybody else had to stay home.
Yeah,
that's why. Agreed. That's my thought process about the whole thing.
Oh yeah, and we don't even have to go down
federal money.
We could go down the list of the people we made fun of 2 weeks ago or so, a couple of weeks ago, of all the people.
Yeah, and look, de Blasio was one of them. And what is he doing now?
He's dancing in the street.
Dance for New Year. Dude, if I ever met you in the street.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You don't even know.
Yeah.
You don't even know.
It's unbelievable. And, it's like you've got that huge study, and that was from LifeSite News. That was not a regular news. It wasn't even a Fox News source. This was LifeSite.
It's not a conservative news source. It's not a liberal news source. It's a standard news source where, it's someone actually reporting science, not mass media.
Yeah.
Who can't report anything at all.
Like anything. Yeah, exactly.
Like nothing. Like Fox News does puppies. Thank God. Because I wouldn't even listen to them. They have stories about puppies, which is great. CNN hates puppies. So you can't even go to CNN
Yeah.
because shitty news and they hate puppies. So
What else is new? What else is new? But yeah,
and
it
now
just
we
goes
move
to show
on.
you. And again, I think this kind of goes back to what I was saying before. There was that, I think there was this medical conference that I was, video that I was on, and they were all concerned about politics and science, and that politics would win out. Well, here's a journal that's now pointing to a case study of 10 million people. None of them were asymptomatic. Out of 300 cases that were, none of them tested positive. So it's one
Yeah.
little bit in the arsenal. It's kind of like, what are we doing with these lockdowns at the end of the day? It's just, we're hurting and harming ourselves. And then again, this kind of also leads in the fact that, we've said before with, looking back on this, it's going to be really ridiculous. And John, I hate to say it. Can we pull up screenshot 4 as
Yes,
well?
we can.
Because this effect
If I was
of these
good at it.
lockdowns, and you got to wear a mask, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. Military suicides in our country have increased in the Army. This is as of September. Suicides have gone up 20% in comparison to the same time last year. And while the Army active duty suicides have gone up 30%, and the increased numbers they suspect are coming from service members grappling with deployments, corona, national disasters, civil unrest. Not exactly a good recipe, John.
No.
No.
No, it seems like it was almost a setup to me, because with the suicide stuff is because you can't take away human contact money.
Yeah.
And scare someone with a disease that is 99.9% for most people, not talking about the elderly. So don't quote me on the elderly, that's 99.4, when for everybody it's 99.9 or 99.8. So I don't want to hear dumb shit. And it's a recipe for suicide. It really is. Matt, if I swooped in your home and took everything that you've ever worked for and scared the crap out of you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's the only way out at that point? Like, as a human being,
Part of me. Yeah, go ahead.
And the thing, I don't fault anybody for this, because this is a problem that the government never wants to deal with.
No.
They don't want to deal with mental health at all.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't have any kind of plan ever to help anybody with mental health ever. They don't care.
If anything, it's like, well, we'll just have another government program that we think will work, and it doesn't work, and it makes the problem even more exacerbated.
Yeah.
Down the road, it just makes it more and more frustrating for people to have to go and like, I think this is going to help me, and it's not. It doesn't help at all. You see that? I think you just highlighted over that. Senior Army leaders told the AP that they are trying to shorten combat deployments, and I think that let's give props to the Trump administration. 0 wars.
Yes.
No wars at all. And he pulled most, if not all, of the troops out of the Middle East.
That this is super important. Like,
huge.
We love the military. We talk about the military. We had a great interview with your father talking about the military. This is super important, of shortening combat duties, making a general effort to stop polarizing, and making these soldiers so, like, we have to be deployed for 12 months. You have to be deployed for 4 years. It's there's a better way to do everything. And we'll get into this later in the podcast, because this is kind of the theme of the podcast. You'll figure that out throughout the time. It's stop making, and this is to the government, local and to the federal, stop making decisions that you're not accountable for. And we're going to definitely get into this, hopefully very soon. Stop making decisions that you're not accountable for and sending people to endless wars, or sending police officers with absolutely no training because you need 13 of them for X amount because you get more money from the state
Yeah.
And this is city government to state, and that's a real thing. You can look that up. That
Absolutely.
if they have X amount of officers, they get more money from the state. And then if the state has more, blah, 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 they get more from the federal government.
Mhm.
The more disaster that happens, the more money you get from the federal government. So the more you're stealing, the
Yeah.
more you can replenish. Just look at any Democratic state you've ever seen. That's
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
Sorry
Yeah,
to be a truth bearer. That's how that works.
That's how that works. Absolutely. What's your result at the end of the day, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
Poverty and crime.
can't ask for anything worse than that, right? I mean, gosh, that needs to ultimately stop, obviously, and have something along the lines where you're just asking and asking and asking without addressing the particular issue and problem. How long is that going to last? That's my question at the end of the day, too.
It's a real thing. I had a job for years
Mm-hmm.
that I was kind of good at
Mhm.
and didn't make a lot of money and
Mhm.
needed a lot of help throughout my time.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went on a journey, took a job where I could be a provider. Totally different life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Totally different
Totally
life.
different life. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Just that one change of being self-accountable
Mhm.
changes everything. And this is what I'm saying with
Oh, yeah.
if you've got politicians, and this is why we talked about another, like when you vote who controls your life, county commissioners,
Yeah.
mayors,
Absolutely.
who's controlling the
Absolutely.
money of the city. You
Yeah.
might want to know those people more than you need to know who the president is.
Yeah, exactly. And not just blindly vote somebody because you think the other party doesn't have any
Oh,
answers.
because he's a Republican or he's a Democrat. No, you can look up their financial history. The guy who is controlling,
Mhm.
the guy or the girl, that was completely sexist by me, and I apologize. The person who is
Mhm.
controlling the money of the city or community that you live in,
Mhm.
you might want to know their financial record.
Yeah.
You might want to know their taxes.
Oh, yeah.
You might want to know what they do personally, because what they do personally is what they're going to do to you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And to the country or to the city or to the state writ large. Absolutely.
Or to the county.
Or
Like
to
a
the
Robbie
county.
County
Yeah.
fines. If you don't know who's in charge of the county,
Yeah.
what if you only have $6,000 for a kids park and they spend it in Vegas?
Yeah. And if
Do the
you
kids get a park? No.
no,
You know what happens? Nobody holds anybody accountable for that.
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
yeah, exactly. If you think also that John and I are also making this up too, John, why don't we throw up screenshot 4 too? Because I think this is a bigger problem. I've seen kind of like, the billboards in and around, Pennsylvania, you can get medical marijuana and all that kind of stuff. And okay. But the pandemic has led to more drug overdoses in a 12-month period than at any point in US history. This kind of goes back to what John and I are ultimately saying is that these lockdown measures, the fact that you can't go outside without wearing a mask, that you can't go to your favorite restaurant, you can't go to the movie theater, can't do this, can't do that. Look at this. The United States recorded over 81,000 drug overdose deaths in a 12-month stretch. To me, that's a pandemic, John.
It's bigger than a pandemic.
And the U.S. has long been struggling to combat the opioid epidemic, but experts say that the total between May and May, so over year, 2019 to 2020, published in a CDC report last week can be at least partially attributed to the coronavirus pandemic. And they're saying here that experts attribute the total to the pandemic's disruption of in-person treatment and recovery. Guess what? You can't get, because of the COVID pandemic and everything being locked down, people that were on drug problems and and we've talked about this with Living Grin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff. All of that was shut down.
Yep.
All of that was shut down. And look at what's happened. You've had a spike and you have a drug overdose in cases. And I've talked about this too with my friends outside of this podcast too. And I'm sure you have too, John, where it's been like this kind of stuff, the lockdowns, again, goes back to what we were talking about before. It's foolish. It does nothing to help anybody. Things along those lines. And then, yeah, I love you when you highlight that. Go ahead and read that. I'm up there.
the lethal drugs themselves have become so much more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because in a pandemic, you only what they're literally saying is you're getting them in such quantity because you don't know when it's going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
That people are, and I understand, like I'm not saying that drugs are okay,
Mm-hmm.
but people that were on the fringe that may be used here and there
Mm-hmm.
now have been locked down so much they get such a big shipment.
Yeah.
They end up, oops, I used it all, which we know definitely using any of these things
Yeah.
at large quantity is going to kill you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I mean, I'm not, and like, I get it. Like you gotta do what you gotta do. Like
Mhm.
whatever it takes to get by. That's the way I feel in life.
Mhm.
But the death toll is amazing
Yeah.
with the fact that when you shut everything down, you can't even have a responsible drug addict at this point. Like nothing,
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing works with this lockdown. Like you can't have, there's no responsibility because you're putting people in a corner.
Yeah. You're taking all of their options away from them by doing this and thinking, and that's the
And it's
frustrating
not
part about
condoning
this.
it, but it's understanding it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I can understand the dude that wants, you know, whatever he wants, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then he brings it home, but then he doesn't see anybody for 14 days. I don't know if you ever seen this on YouTube. I'd love to play this. This
Mm.
dude did a 14-day isolation.
Oh.
It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen scientifically, not
Yeah.
what the result was. He recorded himself the entire time isolating himself. And you could see the deterioration of him as he was talking about it. Like all he wanted was a hug. All he wanted was to see the outside. All he wanted was something.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like that's everything that we're talking about with the isolation and the military and
Yeah.
everybody's a human. Like I'm
Yeah.
not going to sit up here and judge, you know, someone that, you know,
Yeah.
overdosed on drugs or, you know what I mean? I'm not
Mhm.
judging anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Everybody needs something. I get it.
Yep. But when you have, I think I know what you're going with, John.
When you have too much,
something like this,
it's
yeah.
and it breaks my heart.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because everybody wants to talk about coronavirus deaths, which are this big.
Yeah.
But then on a grand scale, we talk
Scale?
about deaths because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
And the idiots in the CDC want to talk about coronavirus related. That's a slap in the face to anybody. Anybody that has a brain, that's a slap in the face.
I would also say this. Some governors that took it upon themselves to shut down churches, limiting the amount of people that could go into church. Say what you will.
Same thing.
Same thing. That was the church is an avenue for people when they feel sick mentally. It is a place where they can go to get counseling. It's a free counseling center, basically.
Yeah.
You take that away. You take something like that away. Where are people going to go? That was my first question, really, when all these lockdowns started to happen. Where are people going to go?
And funny, Matt, it's the exact same question because what they did is they took away faith from everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it be job, whether it be seeing their loved ones, whether it be church, whether it be drugs. In reality, you took what was holding them together in a really weird world that we live in.
Yep.
And you took it away from them, and we see the death tolls from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I know, like, the advent of the vaccines, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But again, our point is, and that is absolutely so important. I couldn't agree more, John. But yeah, it's like looking back on this, I mean, I can't wait when we're doing Two Noobs Talking and we look back on this 5 years from now and go like,
I hope
wow.
so. I hope so. I hope we're on the right side of this.
I do too.
I think we are, but I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. And that's the thing that I hope people who listen to us understand, that this isn't a diatribe. This is trying to give people hope. trying to understand what we're doing. We have a ton of works. I hope you keep with us this year. We have a ton of stuff in the works that are going to be funsies. We're going to talk about some stuff that mass media, and that's one thing we wanted to do definitely in this podcast is be mean to mass media because they don't cover the things that we cover. So
shed the light, right, John?
Yeah,
At the end of the day. Yeah.
If you want to look at, real life and you want to look at like trials and tribulations, you should probably come to us, not them, because they don't know anything.
Yeah. Luckily, you're dealing here with two hosts that have had very different, but also very optimistic lives. I will say that for the two of us. So yeah, we tend to look on the bright side of things for sure.
I hope so.
Let's go ahead and let's transition a little bit further here. Really talking about the president-elect, because he had a very interesting video too, John, when you got a chance. He had a very interesting call with his leaders. Obviously, he's going to be taking the oath of office in a couple of weeks. Let's just go ahead and play this because we're talking about this is part of the transition. So he's talking primarily about, let's just play it.
One of the things I'd be concerned about. This was pointed out to me that you wanted me to be concerned, Derek, I think it was you said it, about, dealing with Bill Sack as in terms of agriculture. Well, first of all, you will learn more about Bill Sack's record, but my point is this. I don't think we should make that a big issue going into before January 5th when the election takes place down in
It's a state.
But I also don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves.
Dude looks like he wants to cry at the bottom, by the way.
Police reform in that because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur, promise you. Just think to yourself and give me advice whether we should do that before January 5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. We're talking about giving them money to do the right things. We're talking about putting more psychologists and psychiatrists on the telephones when the 911 calls through. We're talking about spending money to enable them to do their jobs better, not more with more force, with less force and more understanding. But I just raise it with you to think about. How much do we push between now and January 5th? We need those 2 seats about police reform, but I guarantee you there will be a full-blown commission. I guarantee you it's a major, major, major element.
Your thoughts, Johnny? What do you got?
Salesman.
We need more psychologists, John, on the phone.
What I want to focus on there, which was funny because we did pre-production on this for a while and I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. The empty promises and the car salesman mentality that he threw out there makes me worry more about him than the fact that he's a moron when it comes to pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Changing police. Yeah. Okay. That's cute. Just so everybody knows, his vice president, go back to 2015 and just look up what she does with the police and what she has gotten into. Trust me, like if you go back deep enough, 2015, trust me, that's a year. You'll find some stuff.
Oh yeah.
What he's talking about, he's so condescending. He's such a car salesman.
Yeah.
Like I promise you we're going to do what you want to do, but first you're going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like
does nothing to help. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they beat the hell out of us.
Mm-hmm. In courtesy, you want to know what they are. They are the Republican
American
Party
people.
And the American people. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. This was
nobody wants to defund the police.
No.
We're all for training. We're all for reimagining.
Absolutely.
Most normal people in this world are like the police.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not a political stance.
Oh, yeah.
I feel very comfortable that I have a competent police department where I live.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't live where I lived if I didn't. And that's the thing that me and Matt literally said this was a tough subject to start, but it's actually funny. It's really not a tough subject.
Yeah.
It's actually very simple. I don't think anybody at all that I know, literally anybody,
Yeah.
wants to defund
No.
anything
Yeah.
that has to do with crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
I mean,
look-
yeah.
I think everybody does. Are there problems? Absolutely. There's problems in everything. There's
Mhm.
problems in, we should reimagine trash picking up. That doesn't work out well.
Yeah. We can
It goes-
reimagine the
it
U.S.
goes
Postal
back-
Service.
It goes back to, yeah, exactly. The postal service. That's waiting for something that he really wants that I have, and he's mad about it. No, just messing around. Not to, the police are a bigger, but it's, I wanted to bring it up to make light of what we were just talking about with the commissioners and the mayors and the governors, is that they're cutting budgets and they're
Yeah.
not training properly. You're
Mhm.
going to get bad results.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what's happening. This is a long encompassing time
Oh, yeah.
where you're seeing and any loss of life, whether it be police or civilian
Mhm.
or military, every loss of life is important,
Mhm.
but you have to dig deeper into where
Yeah.
this is coming from, because a pandemic doesn't come, as we've just learned.
Mhm.
Funny story. A pandemic just doesn't pop up.
Yeah.
It has a
Exactly.
root.
Yeah.
It has a start.
And it has an end. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you're seeing with policing. That's what you're seeing in government. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
There's the coronavirus pandemic isn't the biggest pandemic we're facing as humans. I totally feel that way.
Yeah. We've gone through the
There's a
numbers
lot. There's a
before.
lot we have to learn in
Oh,
the
yeah.
next couple of years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. I think the biggest takeaway, one, for me, and there are, I think, three. One, for sure, John, I completely agree with you. Guy's a car salesman. Guy's a complete car salesman. I wouldn't trust him even to go and buy a car from him.
Yeah.
But okay, that's a little cheeky. But two, the
I
idea
wouldn't buy
of
a coffee
putting,
cup from him.
but two, putting a psychologist on a 911 call. A 911 call is an emergency call. Something is already happening that is really, 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 really bad. And I need help right now in order to
But
get this
my
resolved.
my problem is that the rich and understanding what a 911 call was a long time ago. Has that
Yeah.
changed? Because if everybody's dialing 911 and it's what he's doing is he's saying 911.
Hmm.
He could, and he would probably tell you this because he's a car salesman. He'd be like, "Well, I only meant with domestic
Yeah. Yeah.
disputes, not a guy with a gun."
Yeah.
Because he's a car salesman. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
That's what we have to get to, the level of understanding. Like, there's a billion 911 calls, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
So what needs a psychologist? What needs a police officer?
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. This is
Yeah.
the excitement of us as humans, is
Mhm.
people are wasting money doing stupid stuff,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
these programs aren't getting what they need.
Right. And that was
So,
leading
yeah.
to my third point. My third point is I'm totally with you. We go through training a lot in business. We do it a lot. We do it annually because why? We have to not only keep up with the times,
You
but
got to
it's
stay
just
sharp.
for our mental acuities to kind of just keep us informed of what's going on. Do I think the police need to be trained? Absolutely. But I also think too that they have to do their job. And that is, unfortunately, that is enforcing the law when it needs to be enforced.
Yeah.
That's a very difficult and moral argument to make. And I understand that's also a very difficult conversation to have, because I've never experienced being targeted driving a car. I don't know what that's like. I don't even have a freaking clue what that would be like. But I can guarantee you this. If I'm going 65 and a 25, there's a problem. And I better get my ass pulled over by the cops. as opposed to going
But
35,
the
25.
the problem is that with the untraining,
Yeah.
there's more than that, and that's the moral dilemma. That it's a tough conversation, but like we do need to have that conversation
Oh
because
yeah.
you don't me and you don't get the same
We don't. We
like
don't.
at all.
No.
It's we both know it 100%. Like
Mhm.
I'm not gonna sit here and lie that I don't know racism.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
we get a better end of the pie in
Yeah.
most things that happen in life.
Yeah, for sure. And
But
that in and of itself is a problem.
yeah, but that's also something to be empathetic and to understand that.
Absolutely.
I understand why people riot
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
I understand why I get angry for that. You can go back to any of my Facebook lives. I'm
Mhm.
very, very I slowing it down and intellectually thinking about it, which is something that I'm trying to learn to do because I'm trying to eradicate it. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be mad about it anymore. I'm actually trying to
Trying to-
figure out how to help it.
You know,
That's why there's a change in tone with me with that kind of,
absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
I want to think about how to
Mhm.
do it. And one of my major things is we have to start at where did the corruption start?
Mhm.
So we can stop the corruption. So our taxpayer monies go to a proper situation of, hey, Mr. Police Officer, here's how you deal with a poor white person.
Mhm.
Here's how you deal with a poor black person that
Yeah.
has nothing to lose. Same white and black have nothing to lose. Here's how you deal with a rich idiot that thinks he's above the law,
Yeah.
white or black. Trust
Yeah.
me, met them both. Here's how you deal with a
Yeah.
middle class,
White guy. Yeah.
wife is out of control, husband's out of control.
Mhm.
I put it in 3 classes. I didn't mean to because it's all literally encompassing. You can literally do all of that. But what happened was if you're not focusing on something,
Yeah.
you're not focusing on we're trying to eradicate X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
which is police. People want police reform.
Yeah. And I think
Understood.
I think their training is definitely behind the times.
I honestly also think they probably train really well for these situations.
Yeah.
It's also, if you don't see them all the time and then you see one, that's gonna be a different, like, I don't know how to solve it.
Well,
What
I will say this though, John. I think to be able to solve this problem, it's going to take generations of change. It's not going to be something that's going to be solved, like over media sound bites. It's going to take an honest and open discussion and the willingness to have it and the willingness to be like you and I talk, obviously, not only professionally, but personally. And there's some things about, that you have said to me that have been tough to hear. But it's when you get that kind of a conversation into your system, you don't process that as if it's a personal attack. You take it as if it's something that's like, okay, what can I work on to be better in
No,
order to
but
become a better person?
you gotta see it.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to
Yeah,
be willing to see it, and
you have to be. Yeah.
and
And
that's
that takes
not.
humility and yeah,
I can't solve racism.
no.
Um, the one thing I think that, and I just want to say this because this is like my ending point to the whole thing,
Mhm.
is I can't solve it. If I could, I would.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
seriously, if like I had the clear path to it, I would run through brick walls. I would have no issues with
Right
that.
here. I'm right there with you. I'd be
The
right there
one
with
thing
you.
I can add to the conversation, and it's probably the only thing that I could add to the conversation,
Mhm.
is stop as people.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
There's no black, white, Hispanic, like it doesn't matter. As
Mhm.
people, stop letting them steal your money that are supposed to go to what they're doing
Mhm.
so they don't pull us over and hurt us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's not, and I have a lot of cop friends, and I'm sure they're gonna look cross at that because I'm saying it on this end, but I want
Mhm.
to it's a matter of let's start looking at where the problems actually exist.
Mhm. Yeah. And that takes a lot of personal growth and a lot of tough nights, not a lot of easy conversations to have. But if we're going to be better, if we have to be better, in order to address these things,
We just got to try to be better.
we have to. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
losing too many people.
Yeah. Oh
We
my
have
gosh.
to be
Yeah.
better.
Oh yeah. Both not only in our cities, in our greatest cities, in this great country that we have, we are losing so many people. I saw like an Instagram post where it's like already 2021, brand new year, right? There's already been homicides in New York and Philadelphia and Chicago and you name it. And it's like, this has to ultimately, we can't stop it, but we could at least try and slow it down for sure. And we have to but we have to start looking internally, and we have to think about like, what am I doing to not only like, am I getting the right kind of relationships in my life? Am I really stepping myself out there and saying, hey, I am not perfect, and I don't have all the answers, but what I want is a better relationship with you, no matter what the case may be. And that takes time. That doesn't take, the media wants everything done in 5 seconds. You're not going to have that in 5 seconds.
To finish this segment, I just want to quote Mikey Bowles. Thanks for starting a hard conversation.
The man.
That was the greatest. Like, he's such a great human being. I just want to shout him out
Oh yeah.
when he's listening. Like, I just want to shout him out because that was like one of the hardest questions I've ever asked because I didn't know how to ask it.
The NBA. Yeah. The NBA social justice. Yeah.
Yeah, like that
Yeah.
was because I didn't know the answers and I didn't know. And Mikey's been such a huge person to give me confidence to move forward,
Yeah.
even in this. Instead of a lot of people I know, and they won't be named, they ran away from this.
Mm-hmm.
And Mikey was one of the people in my life, along with Ricky, along with my boy Alex. They kicked me in the butt because they knew I had something to say. And they're a huge part of why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
That's awesome.
Because they were like, you're not wrong. You might need to speak more. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
So just shout out to those guys because they're awesome.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I think that kind of leads us to like some really, really great news. John, let's throw up screenshot 5 if you've got a moment there. I just found this talking about the military, and of course, like my father and all that kind of stuff. And
well, we just love the military.
We just absolutely love the military here. And this was amazing. The COVID-19 pandemic, everything gets shut down, unjustly so. But here, new ABC News reporting, notes from France honor American soldiers' D-Day sacrifice. It's by Sarah Morgan. It's a great read because if you scroll down, it's the 82nd Airborne Division, let me say that again, 82nd Airborne Division that basically liberated Saint-Mihiel-et-Ligues, a French village on the coast of Normandy. And they were the first village to be completely liberated from the Nazis back on June 6th of 1944. So right on D-Day. 82nd Airborne flew in there. They defeated the Nazis, knocked them out, and the Nazis never returned to that French village. So that village has loved the American military ever since that day. And so every year they have a celebration of their liberation, and the 82nd goes over there. Well, they weren't able to go there this year for obvious reasons, for the COVID pandemic. So the mayor of that town got, I believe it was the children, to write 500 or so postcards to the entire division, and drop them in a box. And so it's like, I think, if you scroll here down just a little bit, John, on screen for our video. Yeah, I'll just read from weeks later. Burns, who's a public affairs officer, sat the unopened box down inside the museum of Fort Bragg, 82nd Airborne Division Museum, surrounded by glass cases filled with perfectly preserved green service uniforms, all the history of the 82nd Airborne. He assembled a group of paratroopers, and then Captain Darren Chinatol, if I apologize, Captain, if I mispronounced your name, began pulling the typewrap package. The history buff jumped into Normandy.
He knows it's a hard name. So
yeah, he probably does. So he pulls open the package, and if you scroll down, I guess a little bit further, yeah, there we go. 500 handwritten postcards from the residents of the town were inside this box. So the celebrations were canceled in June. The town mayor organized an effort along with U.S. Army Europe to express their gratitude for the long-standing relationship. And the division had sent red and blue All-American Division patches to the town's children. So as a response, the town sent postcards, missing them, wishing them, joy and happiness. And as you can see, the town mayor grew up hearing Dear Day stories from his grandparents. So that, you can't ask for anything. This warms my heart, John, coming off the holidays. I love the holidays, of course.
no, absolutely.
This is just phenomenal.
That quote is probably amazing. Nobody should forget the sacrifices that the American soldiers made for France.
And that's the town mayor saying
That's a great quote.
I had the fortunate opportunity, as you know, John, I'll tell with our audience, I had the real fortunate opportunity of working for a company that had their main headquarters in the Netherlands, and they have monuments there for the British when they liberated Amsterdam. And again, they were coming in from the north, coming down. So you have Netherlands, Belgium, France. So it's the entire, I guess that would be the eastern coast of France. They just completely wiped out the Nazis.
Mhm.
And they swooped in and they overtook. That was such a huge, we say it before and we'll say it again. The World War II generation.
Yeah.
They're freaking superheroes, man. There's
I don't like
nothing
Nazis,
they
so
can do.
I'm glad they got rid of them because I don't like them. Nazis are stupid. Communism's dumb.
Yeah. And they stood up to it, spat in its face, and said,
Good.
yeah, freedom wins.
I like them so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So we figured that would be a real good. And of course, we also had, I don't think we have this article, but I think there was also Becky Hammond. We should do a shout out for her, John.
Oh, no, we should totally talk about this. Is actually like I texted this to Matt. I forget when it was. It was earlier in the week. I totally saw it like a blurb when I was coming home.
Instagram, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was an Instagram blurb. So Becky Hammond became the first female NBA head coach because Popovic in San Antonio, who we all know as
lost his mind again.
But the mastermind behind all basketball. That's why Philly got Brett Brown because they were like, "Oh, he might know something." He doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Popovic gets thrown out of the game, and Becky becomes the first ever female head coach in the NBA. We just wanted to give a shout out to her because that's cool. Like,
oh yeah,
whether it's for a quarter or not, like I'd love to be the first of something.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm never the first of anything, but congratulations to Becky for being the first. And you were, from what Matt told me, because I didn't know anything about you, I'd apologize because sports is not my thing. But apparently, you're really good at basketball.
One of the greatest ever to play in women's college basketball history. Yeah.
That was the production meeting. I was like, did you hear Becky Hammond was the first to coach? And he was like, she was the greatest women's basketball player. And I was like, wow, I suck at basketball. Much love to Becky Hammond.
Much love to Becky Hammond. Absolutely. Yeah.
For
oh
being
my gosh.
the first ever. I hope you get a head coaching job. I really do.
Yeah.
I hope that the NBA isn't stupid enough to make this mistake of like, you make history and then they forget about you.
And then they forget about you. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like,
but they seem to be progressive. So hopefully the NBA, hopefully you will be a head coach sometime. I'm hoping and praying for it.
Yeah. It seems to be like, we had Kim Eng, a few podcasts ago, first GM of the Miami Marlins.
Yeah. And
baseball.
You had the San Francisco 49ers hired their first women's assistant coach.
Yeah. She was
a
few years ago.
So I love it. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I'm weird with like the sports and are we gonna meld the genders? And I might don't know.
Mm.
But I'm old school, so I don't know. Maybe, a couple comments in YouTube tell me how stupid I am for that comment. But yeah, I don't like coaching general manager. Like women aren't. We've had this conversation before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, my wife is the same athlete that I am.
Yeah.
Like, we don't get, like, when we go to the gym, we compete
Oh, yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
we can. Like, that's how we work out. We compete.
Oh, yeah.
I have no issues with that.
I
You
have
know
no
what I
doubt
mean?
there's a
At
little.
all. Yeah, I want to box my wife. We haven't bought gloves and we haven't found a ring yet. I literally, she's a fighter, and
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
I totally want to box you. Hasn't happened yet. It will. I'll probably get knocked out. We'll find out.
Exactly.
She actually over to the corner, just for the listeners, over the corner, just put her fist up like she was gonna knock me out. It's a little inside love right there. Like,
There you go.
Just did that.
There you go. Love it. Love it. Well, this wraps up another episode. Two Noobs Talking, episode 12 in the can. John, of course, where can people find us, man? We're
So
growing
we
every
got
day.
changes here. So you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Parler. And
That's
then
new.
when you go to video,
Mhm.
you're gonna do your basic YouTube BitChute. Rumble. Love BitChute. Love Bit. By the way, we get tons of love on BitChute. So thank you for anybody that even knows what BitChute is. And you give us numbers there. Love it. Rumble,
Absolutely.
pick your game up. Because nobody watches us on Rumble. We just do it for funsies, I guess.
Oh, it's like us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, come on, Rumble. Like, let's get it going. Two Noobs Talking. Get it going.
Oh, man. And of course, like we have our audio podcast, right, John?
Yes, audio. We are on Spotify, and iHeartRadio is our new one. And Apple is our main hub.
Yeah.
And then you can also Google Podcast and Podbean, and then anywhere else off of that, you can search as Two Noobs Talking, 215-512, that you'll be able to find us.
Nice. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we are now international. We've had a few downloads from the lovely country of Brazil.
Oh, we need to totally give shout out to whatever human or humans downloaded us from Brazil. I just got the sheet in.
That's awesome. Who would have
From the
ever thought?
demographic of where we're going. We're totally all over the United States, but Brazil, we got 4 downloads.
Who would have ever thought that? Oh my God.
Whoever downloaded this, if you were listening to this, please email us. We will send you something. Love you to death. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And of course, for all of our show notes, my friends, we will have it listed on our WordPress page. That's twonoobstalking.wordpress.com. We'll have all the links in the descriptions of all the videos we've shared, all the articles we've shared, so that you can take a look into that. And I guess, John, do you have anything else to say?
Matt, don't go down the rabbit hole.
I'll try not to. Talk to you all next week. Take care.